without a crystal ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Friday afternoon and we're gonna do our next video. Yay! Okay, so before we get started, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you can do that down here, as well as ring the bell if you want to know when I go live or when new content is loading. Okay, so let's talk about Josh Duggar. It was actually his daughter's birthday yesterday, 11 years old. Can you believe it? And Anna posted a photo on her Instagram. Literally no one from the Duggars except for Jana wished her a happy birthday, which is so sad. Starting to wonder if Josh's failure to live up to his commitments has led the Duggars to sort of ice out the Josh Duggar clan, because remember that video I did a couple weeks ago about how Josh Duggar was ordered to pay a bunch of fees in court related to some property? Well, the order was actually loaded and posted in court, and KNWA, which is actually a local outlet, had been following this case for years, and they posted the full order from the court, and it's kind of shocking because if you remember, Josh Duggar is being sued by this guy named Carl Eccles. Actually, it's his investment company called ALB Investments, LLC, which literally the only person that works there is Josh, and his former attorney, Travis Story, who was kicked off this case because of a conflict of interest, because he literally is listed as a member of ALB Investments. And then he tried to change the documents, which said that he wasn't, and blah, 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 blah. Never a not shady moment in the Duggar world. Anyways, so Josh bought this property in 2016, and he purchased it from this guy named Edward Lewis. Edward sold him this property for like $1,000. But Carl actually said that he bought the property from his friend Ed back in 2006 and had actually been living on the property for all of those years. So in an order by the court, they say that on the 30th day of September comes to the hearing the petition to quiet title filed herein by a petitioner, Carl Eccles, against the respondents, and the court, being well and sufficiently advised, both as to lawful and as to fact, does find the following as to wit. They state that the property was in their jurisdiction. So they say that the defendants were summoned along with their petitioner to be at court. They also put a quiet title and published it in the Northwest Arkansas Democratic Gazette. They also say that the possession was described as blah, blah, blah. They say that he purchased the property in January of 2006 from Edward Lewis and had possessed it continuously since then. They'd given signed, dated, and witnessed bill of sale and was recorded by the Benton County Circuit Clerk at the mortgage book in 2012. They also say that he had, under the claims, paid taxes on the property described and continuously lived there for more than 7 years. They also find that he is the simple fee owner of that property. They say any claims of interest or any persons whoever, and specifically as to the defendants hereunto, don't own this property. Basically, Josh was supposed to show up in court and he didn't. It says ALB Investments LLC failed to appear at a hearing on September 10th, 2020, and is ordered to pay attorney's fees and costs in the amount of $5,000. They also say that Edward Lewis was properly served on April 10th, 2019, and he's failed to answer and is in default. They say that it's ordered, adjudged, and decreed that the title to the above described property is hereby quieted in fee simple absolute and confirmed in the petitioner Carl Eccles' name. So Josh was supposed to be in court to answer to this. And now, if you remember, Anna was to sit for a deposition. At one point, Josh was actually held in contempt of court for failing to answer basic questions about this property, and then finally shows up at the last minute at the threat by the judge of going to jail. And then after all this is said and done, his lawyer gets kicked off for conflict of interest. There's all of these depositions taken, and then Carl files this document basically saying they're not allowed to look at my criminal history because it literally has nothing to do with this case. And he believed that lawyers were digging into his background. And suddenly Josh just gave up. Like, why would he waste the time of the court for that long. I mean, this has been going on for over a year, almost 2 years. This was going to go to court. It was going to go into a hearing in April of 2021. Meanwhile, this guy, Carl, has been living on a property which Josh basically bought without doing the proper due diligence on his end to run a full title search on the property. And Ed, they completely went and sold it out from underneath his friends, how do you even do that to someone? And of course, Josh would be lazy. But what do you think about him not even showing up to court? Like, how do you just not go to court? This is the same guy that was held in contempt before. Now, part of me feels like he's just going to be like, can you vacate that order? You know, like, he's going to try again, or is he going to actually have to pay the court? Is he actually going to pay for the fees? Now, Carl did submit all of the documents to the court, and his fees were over like $25,000. And it sounds like the judge said, you're only going to pay $5,000 for this. So he's ordered to pay $5,000, which to me is like, well, how much does he actually have? Like, does he even have money? He doesn't have a job. And he's living in his parents' backyard in that building that's like where Abby tried on her wedding dresses. It's this outbuilding that's kind of been converted into a home. It's on the property of the Duggars, but it's not like in their backyard. It's kind of like adjacent to. There's this like long building that's white that has a ton of garages in it. And then there's this like separate outbuilding next to it where they have a lot of cars by it. And there's a space in there that's been made into a house. And he has been living there with his 6 kids. Yes, 6 children for more than a year because he sold his house with Anna. Now, some people were saying like he's just trying to get rid of all of his everything in his name. So he sells the house and he doesn't buy a new house. Now they're trying to flip another property, which they were gifted by their parent, by Jim Bob last year. And it's still on the market for $799,000. And it needs like $450,000 of upgrades according to a bid that they had received to complete the house. The house has essentially been gutted. It's a skeleton. It has a frame. It also has massive cell phone towers behind it and it has like a water tower. So there's some questions about whether or not they'll actually sell the home and whether or not it would be, it's being sold for too much money. But either way, Josh Duggar was too lazy to show up to court. And now his family has all but ignored Mackenzie's birthday. Their first grandchild ignored. And on the photo by Anna, literally the only Duggar that says happy birthday is Jana and then Carlin Bates. No other Duggars. None of the Duggar siblings. None of Jana, Jessa, Ginger, Jill. Nobody says happy birthday to her. Even the Duggars, who notoriously or infamously or always post happy birthdays to their grandchildren, said nothing about this child. So why are they suddenly icing out Anna and Josh? Is something else brewing? Is it that they're just tired of all the shenanigans? Is Josh finally reached his rope and they just don't want to acknowledge it anymore on their social media? It all just seems really bizarre. And even when they did the anniversary, it was just like, happy anniversary, because they just had their 12-year anniversary. So are you shocked or surprised that Josh didn't show up? And who do you think is going to come up with the $5,000? And why are they icing out Anna now as a result? Because honestly, it's not her fault that she's married to a douche canoe, is it? Or is it? And by the way, happy birthday, Mackenzie. I hope you had a wonderful day with your family. All right, you guys, tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye.